The following presentation is for mature audiences only.
Who are you?
He's a fine man.
All hell is broken loose.
He's a great broadcaster.
He's a very powerful guy. Absolutely brilliant.
Feared by men, adored by women.
He's a smart boy. It's patriotic.
It's no big deal.
It's the end of the world.
I might as well tell you now. He's a monkey.
And how you doing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? Welcome into another edition of the Wyldeside with Eric Clark. I am your host, Eric Clark, saying thank you for taking time out of your busy day being awesome to give my little video a watch and a listen. If you like it, like it. If you think other people are going to dig it, give it a share. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, following me on all the social media, and if you want to, become a Patreon. Everything is linked down below. Also, twice a week we are live streaming, Wednesdays 11 a.m., Saturdays 2 p.m., 2 hours of fun and frivolity from the east side of Music City, USA. Don't even have to be a subscriber. You just have to be there. I'm sorry if that sounded really, really cheesy. So there's a lot of ways to get a hold of me. If you've got a band, song, video, something you want me to check out, all you got to do is hit me up with a DM or leave it in the comments. I'll get it in the handy-dandy notebook. Today's video is coming from an original CONCURPA. If you don't know what a CONCURPA is, join us on the live chats. We'll explain everything. Coming from original CONCURPA, Little Raven, she reached out after a live stream and said, hey, do me a favor, and she never makes requests. This has been the only suggestion she has ever made, and she's even sent me food. So this is the only request Little Raven has ever made. She said, hey, check out this Nightwish track from the Decades Tour. So today we are checking out Nightwish live Buenos Aires from the Decades Tour, 10th Man Down on the Wyldeside. Let's check it out. Come on, man. Nice change. Cheat code, man. I've called him cheat code before. That is just absolute cheat code right there. And here in the States, we have this baseball team, the New York Yankees, a long time ago. They had this lineup of just, crazy good players, and it was called Murderers Row. And I believe that was the Yankees. I don't know. I'm not a sports guy that works at a sports station. But anyway, that's cheat code, man. That's Murderers Row. When you watch that, look, man, I know that people have their opinions and people have their thoughts. That's the perfect lineup. I hate it because it's going to upset people because things change and you have to deal with change, and I get that. But when you see that performance, it almost hurts. It almost hurts. It really does. Because that performance is really, it encapsulates the brilliance of Tuomas and those members of the band. It really encapsulates not only the collective brilliance, but everyone's individual brilliance as well. All on one stage, all in 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes, and creating an energy that also adds another layer of flavor to that performance. I talk about that Holy Trinity. What's the energy like from the band and the crowd? There's this ether in the middle. The two energies are colliding. That collision creates an aura. So there's that energy. And when you watch the crowd and you watch the band, you're like, all right, dude, they are right there with each other. I guess that. But when you watch the band perform together on stage, there's another energy there. Are they just going through the motions? I've seen bands that are very clinical, and they go through the motions, and you're like, okay, that's music, right? You're like, that's music. But then there are bands like Nightwish who enjoy what they do so much that playing music becomes a performance. Does that make sense? And that performance creates another energy. So you have all of these energies colliding on stage between the members of the band, between the band and the song, between the band and the crowd. And that energy adds a tone to how you hear it. So that's why I call them cheat code, because they're brilliant musicians. Tuomas writes brilliant songs, and they play magnificently, and they create the perfect energy for that performance. So that's why it's cheat code. The drumming in this, what Kai was doing in this track, very rhythmic, mainstream at first. When you hear it, you go, okay, it's a rock song. And then you start really paying attention to the cool little rolls and fills and shifts that he's creating in the background while also building that foundation. You realize how incredibly proficient and wonderfully, not subdued, that's not the word I'm looking for. He knows when and where, if that makes sense. He knows exactly when and where to push, when to pull, when to ebb, when to flow. But that's what makes this whole band so brilliant. And when I'm watching Empu, I just can never give that guy enough credit. First thing I wrote down was classic tone. It's the first thing I wrote down. He really brings this, and what I was hearing when he was doing those cool little runs and the wows and, the hammer-ons and things like that, it was reminding me of the type of music we were all into back in the late 80s, early 90s, right? That really good forward momentum driving tone that we were getting from Ozzy, we were getting from Dio, we were getting from Megadeth and Metallica, all of those classic tones. Empu is able to not only match that tone, but put his own little added, I don't know, man, just like, your thumb on the scale, if you will, that makes him so unique. I call him the Finnish Army knife of guitar players, because whatever it is you want in a metal song, in a rock song, whether it's progressive, whether it's blues-based, whether it's rhythmic-based like this, whether it's alternative and exploratory, what you're going to get from Empu is the perfect guitar tone and the perfect guitar solo. And you didn't even know it. You didn't even know you needed it, didn't even know you wanted it. Boom, there it is. I think Empu, he quickly got into my top 10, maybe top 5 modern guitar players. As far as, dude, I don't think people really understand how good Empu is. And the problem Empu has, he's very sprite-like, isn't he? He's very spritish. He's very elfish in his disposition. So when you watch him on stage, American country musicians back in the 50s and 60s had this as well. When you watch someone like Roy Clark, when you watch someone like Jerry Reeves, when you watch them, Jerry Reed, when you watch them play, they have this aw shucks disposition. This very, you shouldn't be that happy playing something that intricate and that awesome, right? You should be totally into it and, buckled down and, like no. He's very, hey man, we're just up here playing and having a good time. That energy that so he's playing his guitar and he's creating this overall sound, but his disposition, his attitude while doing that creates something else as well. So when you put those two together and you combine the two, you create this tone that is unmatchable by anyone. It really is. Empu is brilliant. I really hope that the world understands how absolutely incredibly talented Empu is. Like I said, man, he's in top 10, maybe top 5 of modern guitar players. He's really that good. The keys, I said this in a previous video about Mike Oldfield and how you can tell that Tuomas is a fan of Mike Oldfield. He's a fan of Mike Oldfield, and he's obviously a fan of John Carpenter horror movies because he really is good. He's so good about weaving this color through the spectrum where it's bright, right? Like you're listening to the keys and the progression of the keyboard in this song, and it ebbs and flows, and it's up and down, and it's got these cool bright earth tones and, the greens and the yellows and the blues in there. But I don't know if it's an effect on the keyboard. I don't know if it's a pedal or whatever it is, but he creates a hollowness to it that also colors the sky with maybe a little bit of clouds on the horizon. It's really cool how he does it, man. It's really cool how he's able to intermix these tones and attitudes while creating this overall sound of forward driving. It's bright, it's moving, it's got all of the things you're looking for in an active song. But sitting in that background, right underneath, simmering underneath, is that really cool, ominous tone that he loves to create in his songs. And I just find him brilliant, dude. He is the genius metal layer cake baker. I don't know if anyone out there, aside maybe from Arjen Lucassen, could even come close to what he's able to create. And when I say that when you see a song like this, it almost hurts, it's because when you watch Marco and Floor together, that's what hurts. That's what really gets you, because when you watch them together, you're talking about two very distinctive different sounds that these folks are singing. Floor commands her space. Every piece of oxygen is used, and it is heard in what she is creating. It is clean, it is crisp, it is clear, it's wide and thick throughout everything. There's no run-ups, there's no offsets, she starts and ends the same. So a lot of times, especially live, Singers that are pushing their boundaries will ramp up or they'll drop off because they're running out of oxygen and they don't know how to control their instrument. Floor is a master of her instrument. So she's able to fluctuate and ebb and flow in her register and still maintain that perfect ethereal lightness and brightness while also dropping down. I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I will always say it about Floor Jansen. She's able to push you down a flight of stairs, meet you at the bottom, tell you everything's okay, and then push you down a flight of stairs. That's how she rolls, man, and that's how her vocals hit. She's a 155 mic, man. She's coming at it strong, whether it's in the high register or whether it's in that low register. Marco, I've said this from the beginning. I think from the first video when I did Ghost Love Score, I said, that dude's metal. That guy's metal. He is the perfect metal vocalist. He really is. When I talk about Floor being wide and rich through her entire delivery, Marco is the same way, but Marco is a little more rounded in how he delivers his tones and how he creates his colors. He's a little more rounded in that exploration. And Marco does these really cool things that mess with your head vocally. A lot of times people don't even realize it until someone points it out. What Marco does is he changes the direction of your predictive AI. I talk about this all the time, especially with Marco and Nightwish. Your brain is trained through the music that you've listened to your entire life. Everything from the rock and roll you listen to the commercials, jingles, to movie themes, whatever. Your brain is trained to expect certain things in your music. If it doesn't match your expectation, it's off, right? That's how something is off, because it's not matching your predictive AI, what you in your brain is wanting to happen. So normally in vocals, there's a wave, not just a digital wave that I can put on a screen, but the tempo, the tenor, the disposition of the vocals take an ebb and a flow, right? So you get to a certain point in the vocal and you're expecting it to go in a certain direction. You're expecting them to either inflect up or down. It's really simply what it is. This is all boiling down to up or down. You expect the inflection to go down. What Marco does is he'll take it up. And if you're expecting the inflection to go up, Marco will take it down. I don't know if he knows it. I'm sure he does because he's a professional. But what that does is that strains your predictive AI, and your brain goes, that's not supposed to happen. But he's so good at it, and he's so authentic and bona fide in his delivery that his overall attitude as a human being comes through in that vocal. So you accept it, even though it goes against your predictive AI. You're like, that's exactly what I'm the idiot for not seeing it that way, because you trust. There's a trust that you have with this band. So when the two of them are harmonizing, they're so good at understanding the parameters of each vocals. So they know where to explore and where to go and how to make those two very different sounds combine to create this super unique, thick, rich vocal tone that provides these really cool sky and earth tones like yellows and blues and greens. Even though Marco is coming through in a more demanding, more oppressive sound, the colors that he creates in his vocals are still very bright and lifelike, very airy. I know it may not make sense, but I love watching them harmonize, and that's why it hurts. I love watching them harmonize because they're so good. The band itself, everybody is so good about their interchanges and their roles within the creation of Tuomas. That's why I call this cheat code. That's why I call it Murderer's Row. Lightning in a bottle here, man, because you have everybody in this band who are top of their game, being top of their game for someone who is at the top of the game in Tuomas Holopainen. I don't know, maybe less than a handful of people who can create the works of art that Tuomas creates with what he has. And these are works of art. So again, absolutely brilliant. I'm always super stoked when I get back onto the Nightwish list because I know that what's coming is going to be unexpected. It's going to maybe rub me the wrong way, but I will appreciate it when it's over. And that's what Nightwish does. So thank you very much to Little Raven. That was Nightwish, 10th Man Down, live Buenos Aires from the Decades Tour. Again, make sure you are liking it. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following on any and all of the social media. That way, if there's a song, band, video, something you want me to check out, you can hit me with a DM or leave it in the comments. Also, we live stream every Wednesday at 11 a.m., Saturday at 2 p.m., or you can become an official CONCURPA and become a Patreon member. Everything is linked down below. Make sure you're hooked up with me in some way, shape, or form. I'm not that hard to find. Thank you very much to Connect 200 Music to See and Aunt Betty's Nut Butter. Thank you to all of you for taking time out of your busy day being awesome to give my video a watch and a listen. Make sure you're looking out for each other. Make sure you're looking out for your neighbor. Try to do at least one good thing a day. I am Eric Clark, and this has been The Wyldeside.